Hi, and welcome to another video podcast on S.A.I.L Junky magazine. Last night I had the pleasure to interview Carole Fontaine. She's the author of Sail Above the Clouds, How to Simplify Your Life. This book really resonated with me and kind of the S.A.I.L Junky mission of, we talk a lot about sailing with S.A.I.L Junky, but it's really about our journeys and sharing our journeys and collaborating together and living happy lives. That's really kind of the subtext of what I've been doing with S.A.I.L Junky, and I really appreciated Danielle and Connor from Sailing Pivo channel that I interviewed before. They had suggested that I read this book and reach out to Carole and interview her. They suggested that she would be a great interview, and they were not wrong. Carole's book is fantastic. It hit me at a time when I am not only working on my boat and getting back into sailing, but I'm also working on myself and making sure that I'm living an authentic, happy life and working on myself in that way. And this book was really kind of a workbook towards that end. It's the first book in a series of 4. This one is about simplification and simplifying your life. You'll hear about that in the interview, and I think Carole does a fantastic job of really conveying her desire to inspire and work with people to really make sure they're living a fulfilled life, a happy life, and they're being their authentic selves to who they are. So if you get a chance, definitely pick up this book and read it. It may help to do that, and then re-listen to this interview, because a lot of what we talk about comes from the perspective of someone that has read the book. That'd be me. So again, I want to thank Carole so much for sitting down with me to do this interview, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.
Hey, hi.
Hello.
How's it
Hi.
going?
Good. How are you, Carole?
I'm good. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I've been a little bit nervous about this interview because, I really liked your book, and I wanted to, this is really my 3rd interview with S.A.I.L Junky and that kind of thing. So I was like, oh, I want to ask the right questions and all that stuff. So anyway, so I've been kind of working myself up about it. I'm going to relax and have a good conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Your book is. I was actually telling a friend of mine and my wife. I was telling her about it. One second, I want to get my notes up here. Is an interesting timing for me, because I'm getting back into sailing, but I'm getting back into sailing. It's kind of coincides with a lot of what your book talks about, right? Trying to get back to a more authentic life and a more purpose-filled life, and kind of reevaluating who I am and really who I am. And so I've been doing a lot of self-work. I've got this boat that I've started working on, and I'm writing about what I'm going through. That's why I kind of started S.A.I.L Junky, was to kind of write it as an outlet. It's taken on a kind of its own life.
Yeah.
And I think you could probably appreciate that, having done the magazine that you did. Same kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's just kind of talk about that. I mean, that's really what I've been very interested in, especially your background. A lot of your background that I read in the book, it really resonates with me, kind of especially like your early years, and lots of partying and trying to figure out. Reading your book and doing these interviews, I've actually decided that I'm gonna be starting my interviews with the people that I meet by asking them an interesting question, and I learned it from your book. What are your gifts?
I like that. Someone that reads and appreciates and actually listens,
Yeah. But
awesome.
I think that's such an authentic question to ask somebody,
Yeah.
Because then if somebody can come from that perspective, it really kind of gives you an idea of, well, it goes
It,
back to that question, who are
right
you?
away.
Yeah.
It totally shifts the conversation.
So
Yeah,
I'd like
yeah.
to put it on you. What are your
Yeah.
gifts, Carole?
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. So did you press it on now?
It's already rolling.
Sorry.
No, we're good. We're good. Yeah, that's authentic.
This is authentic. This is
Yeah,
real, guys. Yes.
yeah,
Okay. What are my gifts? I would say connecting with people. I have an easiness to connect with people of all kinds of life, whatever experience they've had. It's really easy for me to find common ground, maybe because I've done a lot, experienced a lot. I have a facility to connect people, and I have a facility to connect people together.
Mhm.
Like if you come to me and you say, I'm looking for this or I'm going through that, I'm like, oh, you have to meet so and so. And I find I'm a connector. I connect people, and I have an easy way to connect with people. And I love to inspire. I really, that inspiring people and connecting, that's something that will also resonate, because you'll see through the stories, through the
Yeah.
book, everything that I do is really to just inspire, spark that little spark, it's like,
Mhm.
what can I do to make your day, to light up that flame, that fire in you, that you can go out there and really spread it,
Yeah.
share it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Those are great gifts. So I'd like to ask you a couple questions. One is, in the book, and so personally, I'm very excited for the books, the next books, right? Because this is the first book of four.
Of
Of,
four,
of
yes.
four. So yeah, it definitely whet my appetite to see where it's going to go. But before we get into the book too much, I'd like to ask a little bit, because in the book it kind of starts out, hey, I moved down from Canada. I'd like
Yeah.
to back up a little bit further from that. Where are you from? How'd you grow up? What was growing up like, and that experience?
Yeah, no problem. Awesome. Yeah, I'm from Quebec. I'm from a small town in Quebec, Canada,
Mhm.
and just grew up small town, struggling with the small town life. Wanted the big city, wanted to move away and see the world, and wanting to grow up fast. So I was a challenge for mom and dad.
Mhm.
Ended up going to college in Montreal and bought my first motorcycle when I was 18. So that's something that's like, you're talking, I'm 52. So you're talking a long time ago. Back then, not so many girls went for the motorcycle type. So you that right away tells you the kind of mindset I had. I was, partying, bikers, freedom.
Yeah.
It was a big search for freedom my whole life. How can I be free? How can I set my own way, decide what I want to do in life? And I met my husband, and he was on the same journey as I, and we both moved to Florida because we wanted to ride all year long, because in
Mhm.
Canada it snows and you have to put away your toy.
Yeah, sure.
And he worked in the motorcycle industry. So he also lost his job for 2 months out of the year when everything was closed. You don't work on motorcycles. So we moved to Florida for that.
Mhm.
And we did the biker thing, like you've read in the book.
Yeah.
That's when it starts. The book starts when, after a few years of riding and biking and partying in Florida, which I just found myself, questioning,
Mhm.
is this why I moved thousands of miles away from my family for? It was fun. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun,
Yeah.
but I was still questioning. I was unhappy. I was searching, looking for something. And then we saw the boats
Yeah.
out to sea as we were talking on the beach, and that was it. And the first boat we got, that was just sold it. It just totally, it opened up to a whole new different life. That I'm from a landlocked town. I think I've probably seen the ocean a couple of times when I was a young child. but I'm from like countryside, so
Yeah.
for me the ocean was like this whole new thing. People live on boats, people sail. I mean, that's something you see in the movies.
Hmm.
So it really struck me, and I fell in love right away with the ocean and sailing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And down in Florida, that's actually might even be a little bit easier than the biking because it can get super hot, but get on a boat and you can head out there and
Exactly. Why would you want to have this motorcycle and all this heat between you in asphalt in traffic when you could be in a bikini in a boat sailing to the Bahamas? It
yeah.
doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
And there's definitely a lifestyle of that too. There's a like a clique of people and those kind of things. So it's easy to kind of fall into a tribe there as well. So
Yeah.
that makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense. But that's interesting because the in the book the way it starts, and I don't think giving away too much of the book. I think there's so much in it, especially well, I don't want to get ahead of myself. And it's kind of like that epiphany moment, right? So you sit down, and I've had these before too. I'm 51. I'm right behind you. So these moments like, what am I doing? Am I, this is this me really? Is this me?
Yeah.
And that question that was asked of you at that one party, who are you?
Yeah.
And, and you ask the reader to reflect on that in the book. That is a really difficult question.
That's deep.
It really is.
Deep.
You can say, I'm a guy and I'm Mike and all
Yeah.
that. But that's so surface. And when you're in those moments of I feel like life is like a series of mountains that you climb, right?
Yeah.
And you get to the top of this one, and you think, okay, I figured it all out. And right when I've said that, anytime in my life, I realized, oh no, there's another peak way over there, and I got to get to it. And
Yeah.
so having that kind of when you wrote about it, I thought, good for her, because that's a moment where we can say, okay, what am I doing? Let me regroup and let me kind of reset what's healthy for me. That seemed like what kind of the decision points you were going through there. And there was some that you've had several of those, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think those are gifts, those moments in life when we can sit back and go, oh, wait a minute, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you must pay attention. The thing is that life gets so busy. If we don't slow down and we're pedal to the metal all the time, going from job to work to kids to this to that, and we don't allow ourselves time to be quiet and to reflect and to listen to that little voice, that little nagging voice,
Mhm.
then we'll never have these moments. We'll never have these aha and these important moments where you can pivot to something completely different in your life and change your life for the better.
Yeah.
And it's very important for people to ask yourself to spend a little bit of time every day and reflect. Am I happy? Is this job satisfying
Mhm.
my soul? And do I have a passion or a gift that I'm not exploring, that I'm not doing? Am I dreaming of sailing away and it's just a dream? I've
Right.
been dreaming or building that boat for 15 years.
Yeah.
Don't stop putting money on the boat. Just go. The boat, it doesn't have to be perfect,
Right.
but it may not be there if you wait too long, or you may not be there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that point. Um, and I think those moments though can be for a lot of people can be scary because
Yeah, it's scary. It's very scary because you don't know. Lots of times, the first things that happen is that for me anyway, is that I realized that I wasn't happy and I didn't like myself. There's certain things in my life that I didn't like, and who wants to look at that? Who wants to face that stuff? Because usually there's a yucky stuff that comes up first, and you're like, oh, I'd rather just look on the surface. It looks pretty. Let's just
Mhm.
keep it that way.
Yeah, but let's
But
keep, let's put this mirror away because that
yeah, yeah.
uh,
But it's important to know that we all have that stuff.
mhm.
It's not just us. In the beginning, it's uncomfortable. We're like, oh, I don't like this. But everybody's like that.
Yeah.
So if you're not different, you're no different. When you realize that your mentors, the stars you see on TV, your boss, everybody has these feelings that you're not good enough, or that you're lacking things, or you're unsure of yourself. And when you realize that, it's less intimidating, because, okay, yeah, I have got stuff too, and I need to deal with it. And the moment that you start looking at that stuff, and the uncomfortableness will become more comfortable. All of a sudden, that box that you thought you fit in will get a little bit bigger, because you're like, well, you know what? It's not that bad. Yeah, I do have that, but I can work on that, and I can make that better in my life. And then all of a sudden you start feeling better. So now all of a sudden your world got bigger. Your comfort zone got bigger. Yeah. And that's how we grow. And the more we grow, the more space we have for goodness, for receiving, for joy, for adventure. Look at all the most beautiful things that we can create in our life is when we step outside our comfort zone.
Right. And I think too, that question about, who am I? And then analyzing, well, there's some parts of what I'm doing that is not authentic to who I am.
Yeah.
And then if we can take those parts away, then we have more of an opportunity to really appreciate who we are, because we're clouding it with those inauthentic things that we're trying to either be chameleon with other people, or and trying to fit in where it doesn't make sense. I've been thinking a lot about your book, obviously, and one thing that I've thought about is, I believe you mentioned in there about, find your tribe kind of thing. And when I look at moments in my life where I've had some of those epiphanies where I say, am I really doing what's authentic for me? And I've looked at some of the people that I've surrounded by myself with, and I say, well, they don't really match me. They match what I'm doing that's not authentic to who I am, some of these people, and kind of thinking about, well, maybe I should reset some of that. And I know you talk about that in the book as well.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, this is kind of like, the inside story. They should read the book and then listen.
The underlying current.
Yeah, exactly. So super exciting when you got the boat and you guys started. I love the way you weave your messaging with the story of the boating. For me, boating has been a huge metaphor in what I'm doing with my boat and what I'm going through personally with my growth and trying to be more authentic and stuff like that. And the idea of getting into a sailboat and going on a journey and finding more of my authentic self out there, kind of stripping away the things that I surround myself with or am surrounded by. You mentioned just culture, the American culture in general, and those kind of things where I have to kind of push them back and say, what feels right, what doesn't feel right here, and kind of meter or filter what's able to get to me, and what's able to kind of get me going, and what's not. So you guys got on the boat, and it was your first boat was a smaller boat, right? What was the first boat?
It was a 25 McGregor.
Oh, that's awesome.
The pop-up top.
Yeah.
That was such a fun boat with the swing keel. Yeah. Oh my God. We had a lot of fun with that. We didn't have it for long. I think we had it for about 9 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We bought it. I actually traded my Harley for it. So that was the thing. It was like my husband kept this. I'm like, I traded it. I got the boat. We went we took it everywhere. We trailered it up and down the coast in Florida. Everywhere there was a launch pad, there we were every weekend. And finally, we took it for 2 weeks down the Keys. We had such a memorable trip, met such amazing people, boaters, that we came back and we're like, that's it. We're in love. This is it, and then my husband, came with the idea. It's like, well, instead of buying a house, maybe we should buy a boat and live on it.
Yeah. Well, and I would tell you, if you want to do some traveling around, maybe something a little better, a little bit more solid than a 25 McGregor.
Yeah. Well, we traded it up and we went up to
Yeah.
a 41 Morgan. So
Yeah. Well,
that's like the standard liverboard, comfy boat. Is very obviously it was comfortable. We loved it. We were on it for 20 years.
yeah.
We didn't plan on it. We just that was our life. I loved the boat. We loved it. It's like every year it's like, yeah, we're not going anywhere. We wanted to do something different. We'd move around, go to different place, different location, but the boat stayed. The boat was part of the family. It has a soul. It's, it's part
Yeah.
of you. It's been very memorable. I'm very grateful for all these years on the boat.
So the main theme of your first book here is simplify.
Yeah.
So you could certainly find ways to do that if you move on a boat, right?
You don't have
all the stuff I have in my house here and what I would have to get rid of to be able to simplify enough to get on a boat,
Absolutely. It really triggers something. In the beginning, it's difficult because you look at how we're raised. You're raised you go and you get a degree, you make money, you buy things, you buy a house, you get money in the bank. Money is security. Material things is security. We equal security to money. So there's this material attachment that we have that's very unhealthy. Because we shouldn't, because if you take it away, your security is gone. But you're still safe, you're still whole, you're still a human being that's safe. Your security should rely whether you're physically safe or not whether you have money in the bank or not. I understand you need to have the comfort, you need to meet certain needs. But when those needs are met, we've taken it way overboard. So going the opposite and selling everything and going on the boat, and the beginning was very difficult for me as well. It wasn't like, oh yeah, let's just sell everything and move on the boat. It was like, well, I really like this thing, but so you go through this phase, and everything went through a phase, and you just have to choose. You have to make choices, and you make those hard choices. And do I prefer to have those things or what? And you downsize. And after a while, that process becomes internal. It all of a sudden, it's not just the things that clutters your space. It's like, what else is cluttering inside of me? And that triggered such a transformation. It's like, yeah, I don't need, and the realization that the next time that you go into a store or to the mall, you look at things and you're like, yeah, that's pretty, but I don't need it.
Yeah.
You just walk around, you're like, I don't need anything.
Yeah. I kind of was dreaming about that when I was reading about it in your book, because not only the getting rid of the things, but not having that constant desire to satiate myself with purchasing more things. That instant gratification of clicking the buy it now on Amazon or whatever it is, and just more things are going to make me happy, when that's not the case, right? It's really about finding the happiness within and kind of resetting that, I took
because you can't fill that space with things.
No.
And that's when you face that when you're finally allowing yourself to be quiet and face that uncomfortableness, and you align yourself with your authenticity. I'm working on a book 2 now, which is Align. It's all about aligning yourself. And when you align yourself, after you've simplified everything, you realize where you're out of alignment. What doesn't resonate, what doesn't feel authentic is out of alignment. So how can you align yourself with what's right, and that's where you find it. That's when you find the joy. When you align yourself with joy, everything else falls apart. Everything that's inauthentic has a certain degree of fear, uncomfortableness, of you're not 100% in it. If you're doubting yourself, or if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. And you want to go for those heck yes. You want to go for that feeling of immense joy, you know. So
Mhm.
when something happens in your life, you just close your eyes and you go with it and you ask yourself, you know, go within, see how it feels in your body. If it feels expansive, it feels like a yes, then that's your cue to follow that, whether it's for a job, a person, a place to go.
Mhm.
Really important to realign ourselves with our priorities and our goals with what feels authentic, with what feels 100%
Right.
inside our heart, that this is what you're meant to do. If you have 1 year left in your life, what decisions would you make? Would your decisions be different than just the way that you're going about life right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
That's a big thought, you know?
Yeah. And why aren't you making these decisions?
Yeah. Yeah. And what, you know, because we can, I'm an executive at a technology company, and so I've got a lot of pressures there that maybe I don't have as many as I like to think I have, you know,
Mhm.
and the things that I say, well, I can't because I'm tied to this, or I can't because, you know, I'm needed here or there. When I think it's when, like where you're going with that thought on alignment is, okay, I can think about, you know, what's important, also consider myself for a minute, and then make sure that I'm saying, no, okay, now care about myself enough, you know, think about me enough to do this. Thinking about simplifying sounds great, but if I don't have the desire to do it for me, it's not going to happen. You know, I
Yeah.
have to really
Yeah.
get through that motivation of making sure that, you know, what I'm doing is, like we talked about, authentic, but also that I'm doing it for me. I'm
Yeah.
caring enough for me to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
Yeah. Must decide. I mean, you can have the best plan in the world, the biggest mentor, the most pricey business plan, but until you decide and you commit
mhm,
to doing it, nothing's going to happen.
yeah,
You need to decide to put your goals, yourself, your purpose, your passion, whatever it is you want to accomplish, you must put that first. And you must put your self-care first.
yeah,
And that's something that you know, we don't emphasize it enough to the young ones. To, you know, we learn this as we get older, with maturity, with experience, because we end up feeling depressed, depleted,
yeah,
and we have these crises
mhm,
because we haven't been nurturing ourselves. And you know, we teach things that when people get out of high school or college, they're not going to use for the next 50 years. And we don't teach them to take care of themselves. We don't teach them to listen to yourself, to your body, to your intuition. We just say, no, this is your plan. You know,
or-
this is how you're supposed to go about life. But your self-care, your mental health, forget about it. You know, we don't talk about these things.
yeah,
But thankfully, with this pandemic and what's going on, we see people talking a lot more about mental health, taking care of yourself. People have really spent the last year reassessing their priorities. And although we are in crisis mode, I think it's an amazing thing, because there'll be a lot of people that will be tuning in to their passion
yeah.
and pivoting their lives, which is, it's needed. We need more happy people.
Yeah, absolutely. A friend of mine said, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste, you know, and
Yes,
think about
yes,
that a lot with the pandemic.
I love that.
I've got a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old, and prior to this, prior to COVID, I traveled extensively, very extensively. I gotta start my video again. Hold on one second. There we go. And I haven't traveled at all. I haven't been on an airplane. I have been with my kids nonstop, and it's fantastic.
Yeah,
And I've now realized, and I've told my business partner, I'm not traveling again.
yeah,
You know, I can Zoom all day long. I can do this.
yeah.
No, I'm done. this is now the new normal for me, and I'm good with this. You know,
Yeah.
be able to reconnect. So I think that there's a lot of that, and like what you say, in this, I've had a lot of opportunity to say, am I happy? Is this, am I doing the right things? Am I meeting my needs in terms of my health and my mental health and those kind of things? Am I working through that? And so it's like I say, it's like I'm at another mountaintop, right? Looking and I go, well, there's probably like, there's more mountains to go, but I feel good at this one. And
Yeah.
now I'll keep on going and find the next one to climb and figure that part out.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So with the sailing, you guys, I mean, you did some passages. You guys traveled around. You're no longer on the boat, correct?
No, we sailed up the East Coast in a few years ago,
Hmm.
and that was a beautiful summer. Everybody should sail up the East Coast and stop by every port of call and visit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was great. And we're in Maine now,
Oh,
and
that's
we
beautiful.
moved off. We're on land. The first year was very difficult.
Yeah.
I joked that it was hard to dry my gills.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm enjoying it now. We had our first garden last summer, grew our food, learning all these things that people are used to in the house. I do feel there's a lot of wasted space in the house. It's crazy. The
Yeah.
waste, and people running the water. It's like, oh my God, you don't have to carry anything. And what do you mean I don't have to carry my dirty laundry around anymore?
Right. Right.
All these things, that you take for granted that you're used to doing on the boat.
Yeah.
I appreciate it immensely. And we are close to the ocean. We we do think that we're going to continue traveling, but it's not going to be on the water. For us, it's we had Windsong for 23 years,
Yeah.
and we're turning our sight onto a land yacht now.
That's great.
We're thinking RVing.
Hmm.
And so that would be the plan. I'd love to go around the US, go all the way up to the West Coast, and come back through Canada and do the Maritimes. That
Yeah.
would be an amazing trip.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for years we've heard people, oh, I went there, and we did the water thing.
Hmm.
So, and I love it. I'll always be connected. You can never sever that bond. The ocean for me, it fills me. It's my mother, it's my connector, it's my healer. But I do want to explore what else there's some beautiful sites in
Yeah.
America, and I really want to do that.
These are the chapters, we
Yeah,
new chapters and life.
exactly. Yeah. It's like I was telling someone today that you can, you I when you get to the gates of heaven, when you're done with your life, you can show up there all prim and proper and say hi, yes, here I am. Or you can come up there out of breath, disheveled, bloodied, hurting all over, and say, that was a hell of a ride.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I want. It's like, what more to do? We're not done yet. It's just another book, like you said, another chapter. So what else can we do? Yeah, we slow down and we don't do things as fast anymore, but life is not over. There's a lot left to do. There's a lot of passion and things that we want to do and go see.
Hmm.
So I think we'll always have that little wandering eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a healthy eye to have.
Yes.
And
Yes.
exciting. It adds excitement to life. In the book, you talk a lot about, but not in detail. And so, I when I read your book, I definitely enjoyed the stories, but I also see it as a workbook, as there's exercises and things for me to write down and do at the end of each chapter to really contemplate on things like simplifying my finances or those of people that I have around me, or if I have, like I do, I have a dream to take my boat when my kids graduate high school. I want to take my boat on the Atlantic loop. I want to go, over to Europe and down to Africa and back over. But in your book, you mentioned something that really stuck with me is while that is a goal I have and a dream, be flexible. That may not be the thing, right? And if that voice keeps talking to me and saying something different, listen, right? Because it's easy to try and get my mindset on that's my goal, that's my goal, that's my goal. But
Yeah.
I think the goal truly is, reading your book helped me kind of think about this. My goal is not that per se, but more about living authentic and healthy, and what my mind and my body and the universe is telling me on my path, right?
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that part of. Do you have an example of I mean, of that with you in terms of in your.
Absolutely. It's a it's, for example, I think that my goal is really to be happy, to what brings me joy. And I've had a lot of goals in my life. I've worn a lot of hats. I reinvented myself, started many businesses, moved around. But I think that the goals kind of weave together. And at a certain point, one goal will bring me to another. Let's say I have the goal of having that boating magazine, that sailing magazine that we had. That was an amazing goal. We had a blast doing it and publishing that magazine. But at a certain point in time, that goal wasn't making me happy anymore. I don't regret that goal because that goal brought me a lot in lessons, in growth, and that it brought me to another goal. So, like when we first got the boat, we had our goal of chartering, going around the world, et cetera, et cetera. So, we devoured everything and we got to learn all about the boat. We took some classes and we really got involved into a lot of different things. And we realized, oh, you know what? That's not really for us. We want something different. But we wouldn't have done all these things if it wouldn't have been for pursuing that goal. So the goal is really just like a temporary destination. And if it doesn't suit your need anymore, you're allowed to just tack and go somewhere else. It's okay.
Yeah.
Do we have to let go of our attachment to actually accomplishing the goal when it loses the attraction?
Yeah.
Or the fulfillment.
Yeah, and I really wanted to also focus on the journey to the goal. So it's if it's the goal is one thing, but if I need to be able to completely enjoy and be satisfied and healthy in the journey to the goal, whatever
Yes.
that is,
Yes. And be open to surprises.
Yeah.
Because when you go out sailing, we say, well, let's go, to Bimini, for example. Okay. Well, the trade winds, the currents, the breakdowns, all the things that happen will change your course. And it always happens, on the water, something always happens, but that's where the adventure is.
Yeah.
Because it's not planned. It's in the surprise. The adventure and the fun is in the surprise. They're like, oh my God, can you believe this happened? We wouldn't have been here if we didn't so and so.
Right.
But you have to be open and willing to embrace the uncertainty, embrace the uncomfortable, embrace whatever comes in and say, yeah, let's just do it and see. It's good to have a goal in life and in sailing, but you have to be open to what comes to you while you're going there, because that may even be a better route for you to go.
Yeah, it was the path you didn't know you were on.
Yeah, and you can't know what you don't know. Right. So until you're walking and it appears to you, you can't go there. So just start going and that goal will bring you there. And then just start walking and see what comes up and say, but be open to it and be open to the unknown.
Yeah, I think that's super super cool, especially for a lot of the people that have kind of gravitated towards over to what we're doing with Sail Junky are people like with a dream. I want to get into sailing. I have a dream to go on a big trip or sail around the Caribbean or around the world or whatever it is. But they're just kind of starting out on that dream. And I think that's the important part, right? Is to not get too overwhelmed with that,
Yeah.
but be pragmatic about it, but also enjoy yourself. Make sure that it's healthy and happy in what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
You can get there. And you also talk a lot in the book about your experience with yoga.
Yes.
And I'd like to know a little bit more about that. I don't know if that's coming in the later books or whatever, but you really keyed into that. It changed a lot for you in terms of and brought you through a lot of things. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. It's yoga changed my life. That's period. That's it. Yoga changed my life. It started that of course I didn't start and boom, I went to yoga, fell in love with it, and started chanting ohms and all that. I started yoga because I had a car accident and I hurt myself. And it was suggested to me that it might help me. So I'm like, okay. So I started, I'll just sign up for a beginner's class. And it did help. Physically, it really helped me with rehabilitating my injuries. But then as you go into it and you go deeper into it, the teachers start talking about different mindfulness, paying attention, breathing. And it's really it was at the same time as it started triggering a lot of questioning in my life. And I really went deeper into it. And when I fell ill, in those periods, those years, I didn't do a lot of yoga back then. I had gone for it after my accident, and then I stopped. We sailed away, we were different places, and it wasn't really available to me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was really, really sick, and I decided to fire my doctors and take my health into my own hands, that's when I turned to the holistic world. And I went to see practitioners of different, holistic medicine. And
Mm-hmm.
I went back to the yoga roots. I went back to the meditation, the pranayama, and the physical yoga to really help move the energy, move the blood, move the flow. I was struggling with digestion and everything. And I knew that the benefits helped me before, they could help me again. And although I was, having a difficult time with my body and I didn't have a lot of energy, I adapted it, and I had teachers that helped me adapt it to how my health was there and helped me build the strength back into my body. And with that came the teachings of the meditation and the breath. And as you dive into this, you discover strength you didn't think you had, and you just want to learn more. And there's so much knowledge in the yoga practices that are available to us that it blows my mind that it's not everybody's practicing it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot more popular it is now, but
Sure.
I wish that instead of being just a physical yoga that's really popular in America, we would have a little bit more of the pranayama, the breath yoga, the awareness, the meditation, which a lot of people do, but a lot of classes they're superficial to me. It's
Yeah.
important to take care of the body. It's very important, but it's very important to connect with our energy system, to connect with how do I feel. You can go to the gym, you can do yoga, and still be completely unaware that that pain in your gut is trying to tell you something, because you're like you push through it. You do the pose, you hold on, you sweat it off in hot yoga, you get out of class, you move on, you're done. So it's more of an exercise class. So if we would tune into more of the deeper yogas where they teach you about the non-violence, about the self-care, about the breath and the energy systems in our body, that knowledge is really what helped me heal my body. And the more I got into it, I was hooked. I was like,
Yeah.
and it resonated with being on the boat, with nature around, with how I felt when I was on the water. Everything felt connected.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all of a sudden I felt, instead of feeling disconnected, depressed, depleted, sick, ill, I had this spark. I felt connected with the planet, with the universe, with the water. I was like, in love with life again.
Hmm.
It reignited, it helped me connect with myself, my inner voice. And it's really, it comes with the meditation, I believe, the meditation, the yoga, the mindfulness, how that kind of yoga helps you. The kind of yoga I practice, I started with Iyengar yoga, and then I moved on to Kundalini yoga, which is a yoga of awareness, a very deep yoga that really helps you tune into your energy, your chakra. It's physical, but it's also a lot of meditation and a lot of breath work.
Yeah,
So,
because when in reading through and doing some of the exercises in the book and really kind of contemplating the sections of the book, I was wondering if yoga and the mindfulness part of that wouldn't be like a really good, like, to use I like to work mechanically, to like grease the ability to be able to get to those places, to simplify my skills, simplify my mind,
yes,
kind of things, because without spending the time or having enough care about myself to get mindful about it, it's easy to dismiss those things. Well, yeah, I've got to get my finances straight, but whatever, or yeah, I've got to get drama out of my life, but now I'm going to go to work or whatever, But the any kind of mindfulness meditation that I've done, or the way that I've kind of was keying into what you were talking about yoga is that's almost, and I'm going to use a term not in a negative, it's a selfish thing that is helpful to be able to now be able to allow me to focus on these things and actually be able to say, okay, I'm now aware that I need to kind of simplify the drama, but now I'm also believe that I should and will, And so I've been thinking a lot about it. My wife is into yoga, and I've been thinking about getting into it because, just to be practical about it, I like to, if there's something, I like to make a plan and make sure I can successfully do it. And so if yoga is an easier way to get to be able to do some of these things, then I'm all for it. So that's why I was very interested in that. I think I will. It's been difficult with the pandemic to try and figure out yoga, but I have found some stuff online
yeah,
and on Amazon Prime and stuff like that. They've got different yoga stuff. But I think the mindfulness part is the huge part there,
I think you hit the note right there. When you said aware, that's it. It's it. I think the yoga gives you the tools, easy tools, quick tools that's been passed down from teachers to teachers for hundreds of years.
Hmm.
It's known, they teach it, it's there, it's free. And these tools work. They work. And that's what's amazing. And you apply these tools in your life, but you must decide to do them and commit to do them.
Yeah, that's the deal.
You must put yourself first and decide, hey, I'm worth it. It's worth it for me to give myself 10 or 15 minutes a day to do this and to feel better about myself, and then add yoga or half an hour or however long you can do it, but you want to commit to it. But
Mhm.
that when you said aware, that's what it does. They gives you the tools to bring mindfulness into your life. And once you become aware of yourself, of where you're at, you cannot unsee. It's like the Matrix taking that pill. You can't go back.
Yeah, you cannot see it.
Yeah, and you want more. You're like, I
Yeah,
need to learn more.
yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think on from the sailing perspective and what I'm doing with my boat and kind of challenging myself to be able to I bought an old boat that needs work, so and that in itself is a fun challenge for me
yes.
to make it something beautiful, do it with my hands, do it with my kids, and achieve and believe in myself to be able to achieve it. But along the way, I'm thinking a lot about the ideas, about simplification and really decluttering so that I'm leveraged for success better. From a business world, in what I do, I like to think about, okay, if I'm going to go for a project or a big, work on with a new client or something, I'm constantly trying to um, de-risk the projects. I'm trying to make things more efficient, smoother, those kind of things. But in a self-care kind of world, I think that's the same concept, but it's by really caring about the self, right? It's about caring enough about yourself to invest in yourself to be able to do these things.
Yeah. Yeah. And the sad thing is that for a lot of us, we wait until we're at that store
Yeah.
or something really bad happens before we change our life and decide to put ourselves first. That's what happened to me, is that I got so sick, for years. I had all these doctors, couldn't figure it out, couldn't function anymore. Before I realized, like, oh, wait a minute, it did not need to be that way. And it's like that for a lot of us, most of us. We have this thing in our life that happens that really puts us against the mirror, in front of the mirror, like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. And then we decide to shift and pivot. And with yoga and mindfulness is that it gives you the tools to not make it that far, or to be aware of the path. And because there's always these signs happening around when in your life, but if you're unaware and you're not looking at them, you're not going to be guided to do the right decision. They might look good on paper, but might not be aligned with those decisions. So it's really about being in alignment, decluttering. What simplifying does is that it clears your path to see.
Okay.
Who are you? What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
What are your passion? What brings you joy? Mm-hmm. Once you simplify and you get all the clutter out, you can see. After that, you how do I align myself with what I want?
Yeah.
Or get rid of the stuff that I don't want. So it's really about aligning yourself with your authentic, with your frequency, with your soul, with your language. What kind of language your life is like a song. How do you want to sing it? Do you want to keep quiet for the rest of your life? Or, what notes are you going to use? We all have a gift, something that is calling. We're put here to do something. We're put here to have fun. Life is supposed to be fun, to be lived. So that's really what I want overall people to remember. And that's why I wanted to put the book out, is so that they read the stories. It's entertaining. I mean, you've read it. The stories are crazy. I mean, in 20 years on the boat, every day on the water is like living, maybe not a year on the boat, but what it's nuts. But also weave through the adventures and the fun is that my own path to finding my bliss, my inspiration, my journey. And hopefully people will get inspired and say, hey, if she, they would recognize themselves in my story and say, well, if she did it, I can do it too. I can find whatever it is that lights my life,
I think the lessons, the chapters are extremely relatable. And, I don't think just for me, like it definitely spoke to me, but I think most people would be able to recognize a lot of what you talk about in there. And, a lot of it is, quite frankly, it's like, well, yeah, of course, that's what I should be doing, right? There's a lot of those, of course.
Oh.
But with the analogy that you provide, the story that you provide, and then the guidance at the end of the chapter, it's like, yes, and I can, right? I can do this. I can do it. So, question for you: the next book and the alignment, because I'm very excited to read that next book. When do you think something like that would come out?
I would love to have it out for the 18th of July. So, 7/18. Yeah, 7/18. I had to take. That's my husband's birthday.
That's fantastic.
Yes, I would love to. The books are, it started out, I've been writing these books for 5 years. Okay. So the 4 books are written. They were one large book, but they ended up being too big, and it was too many stories. And I was told by a mentor, you should cut them in different books because it's too, people are going to get discouraged and not going to read it, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, that's a good idea. And I was working at the same time. I was teaching, and I was like, S.A.I.L. And then I put together the S.A.I.L program, Simplify, Align, Integrate, Let Go. That's the acronym. So I took all the stories and I went to rearrange them in the correct book.
Sure.
So that's what I'm doing right now. So most of the adventures are all written. Right now, I am just weaving the lessons, the exercises, and rewriting some of the stories because some of them have been written in a while. So I'm just making it flow. So I think that it should be done. I'm hoping for it.
Well,
It'll be this year. That's 100% sure.
that's
I'm
great.
shooting for the July, and we shall see.
That's great because I think the first book was perfect in its size and kind of in its content because it was not too much. It was really digestible in the way that you gave it. And I was doing it a chapter an evening. So that it was like, because I did want to, and I think anybody that reads it should really spend the time to do the exercise of it because it's that self-reflection that really starts to speak. And even if it doesn't speak to you when you do it, like for me, I was finding for days, I was thinking, oh, wow, I wrote that. Why did I write that? That's interesting.
Yeah.
And so that ability to really have a conversation with myself about some of these concepts and really try and get to the truth of how I feel about it and what is truth was very, very interesting for me. And I was able to really reflect on it a lot and a lot of the work that I'm doing in the self work. So I a super fan of it. A friend of mine, somebody that I had met, and actually the first people that I interviewed for the channel was um, Danielle and Connor from Sailing Pivo.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
Yes, and she had highly suggested I look at your book and that I try and reach out to you. So I'm so glad that they did that because I like I said, I told my wife, like, this is perfect. Like sailing and the self work together. This is fantastic.
Together. Yay.
So yeah, I really appreciate it. And I'm super looking forward to the next book.
Awesome. It's coming. I'm really glad you got a lot out of it.
Yeah.
It's really a work of art from my heart, and yeah, I'm really happy that people are responding. It's resonating with a lot of people because people are looking for real. They're looking to have purpose, to have fulfillment, to have joy, to be aligned with a healthy and happy life. And that the whole planet was put on a stop this past year. And it was very uncomfortable in the first, 6 months looking at our stuff because we didn't want to look at our stuff. Right. And the beautiful thing is that a lot of people are saying, I'm happy. Yes, there's a lot of sadness. I don't want to minimize what's happening, but I'm hearing also, I'm so happy working from home. I'm so happy I'm with my children. I'm so happy this and that. Yeah, we have to the challenge of health and calendar and Zoom schools, but people are really tuning into what they didn't like in their life and they're changing it. Yeah. And that I think is a beautiful thing. And I do hope that people keep it up as we open, that they actually go out there and they continue to pursue whatever passions that they have.
Well, that's the interview, and I certainly hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. Sitting down with Carole was great, and discussing the book. The book has meant a lot to me in the journey that I'm on, and hopefully you can download the book and find some inspiration for yourselves in what she talks about in there. In the article below, you'll see all the links to be able to connect with Carole, find the book online, and we're certainly looking forward to the rest of the series that's going to come out, and we'll stay in touch with Carole as that occurs. As usual, Sail Junkie Magazine is not taking any sponsorship at this time, but if you do have a couple dollars and you like the content that we're putting together, head over to oceanresearchproject.org. That's the organization that Matt Rutherford runs, and what they're doing is changing the way climate research is done on the oceans in big dramatic ways and doing it via sailboats. You can read all about what they're doing on their website, and there's a quick donate button on there that if you have a couple dollars, why don't you send it over that way and really help change the way climate research is done, help impact the planet in a positive way. We really appreciate you sitting down and watching this with us, and we look forward to doing more of these in the future.